All right. I'm going to explain to you guys what my journey has been with inguinal hernia, bilateral inguinal hernia. I have had this for about 6 or 8 months, and I refuse to get surgery. Um, because there's such a complication rate with the surgery. There's class action suits against people that got the mesh put in. People wind up taking oxycodone after the surgery for extended periods of time. People wind up screwed up from the surgery. Now, most of them don't, but some of them do. So I figured that this thing needs to be fixed by itself. So I wandered around, and then I got onto the impression by somebody that you were better off not using a truss or a support, because then the muscle would never develop, since it never had to hold it in by itself. Well, I came to the conclusion that that's erroneous reasoning, and you're far better off using a truss of some sort, um, hopefully to hold the hernia inside you, your large intestine, rather, I should say, so it doesn't come out through the rip in the wall. And I found that these supports, I've tried different ones, have not really been 100% a success in keeping it in all the way. They keep it in enough that you're comfortable and you could function, but they don't keep it in enough where it's going to be all the way inside and the rupture or the rip will heal. But on the other hand, maybe they keep it in enough so that it can start healing. So the first challenge, which there's a few people on the internet that will admit to this, that you need to have this thing pushed in all the way. Well, these people sell devices that do this. In both cases, it's a soft device, like underwear made out of an elastic. You can get a similar type device on Amazon called Underworks. I'd say their model 848 is the stronger of the two. They have a weaker and a stronger one. The stronger one has a firmer elastic material, and it'll work on a bilateral, you know. Now, on both sides. If you only have it on one side, you can take the pads. It comes with a rather firm foam pads that the elastic pulls the foam pad against the hernia area, and the idea is that it keeps it inside. But I've scoured a few forums, and people say things that it doesn't really keep it inside, it just makes it comfortable enough for you to get around. Now, these are not people trying to sell something, these are people that are commenting. Now, one of the guys that sells these things is in the UK, and he could very well be a good guy. And he could very well have devised this device that he sells, which is not a lot of money, um, to help people. But I don't think it by itself is, in the majority of cases, if someone has a very small, hernia the size of an inch long and a half inch wide or something like that, and it comes out a half inch, well, it may do the job. But it may not, so I don't have much confidence in any one of these devices working all the way. So I've come to the conclusion that what one needs to do is something they don't talk about. And that is combine devices and or approaches. So what I have experimented with is using kinesthesiology tape to tape the hernia to see if the tape would keep it in, which I was told it wouldn't do by somebody on a forum that tried it, and they were right. But I haven't really taped it to the fullest yet. But what it does do is keep it in a bunch. It keeps it in about as much as most of these supports will. I bought one support called the Uriel, I think, Uriel. And they have sort of a foam type pad that comes up like a hill with a bump. And I tried that, and that hurt. And it's ineffective because the bump is what presses in, and you got to get it exactly where the opening is, which is difficult on both sides because they're not that adjustable. And it didn't work, so then I flipped the pads. I took the right side, reversed it, and put it in on the left side, and did the same from the left side, reversed it and put it on the right side, and made it into a flat pad device instead of a pointed one. And guess what? That was working much better, but not as good as the Underworks underwear type device, which is a very strong elastic. Now, if you put the tape on under that and you put that over it, now you're cooking with gas. I think at times it'll actually stay flat, but then when you eat or get active or something like that, I'm not so sure it stays that way anymore. So the other deficiency you have is when you go to the bathroom or you take a shower, and obviously you take the device off, your bulge could come out. However, if you're using kinesthesiology tape, you have a situation where, yeah, it's not going to be flush inside, but it's not going to come out like big time. Okay, then you could always go lay down for a little while and get it to reduce, because it never came out that much to start with because of the tape, and then it goes back in, and then you could put your truss or brace or support on it. Now, in the old days, before 1900, what they were doing is very little hernia surgery. They were selling trusses, and this guy had a spring type truss, which is basically, you can still buy them on Amazon. It's basically a belt with some leather component, and it has a piece of metal covered by leather or rubber that's held by a spring with firm pressure, and you adjust that to press on the hernia opening, and when you bend or move, the spring will modulate the pressure as needed. And that's how they used to cure the hernias in the old days, and they made them covered with rubber and in a waterproof design, so the guy never had to take it off, and it didn't interfere with going to the bathroom because it was just a belt up around the hips, and it had these paddles with the spring down in the hernia rupture area. And that didn't, so they were taking showers with them on, sleeping with them on, and going to the bathroom with them on, and people were allegedly getting healed from these things. Now the medical community suppresses this, and they immediately say, oh, no, you can't do it. Well, what do you expect from them, right? So the idea is to combine 2 or 3 devices to get your hernia kept in. So you can try the kinesthesiology tape, and then you could combine that with one of these spring type devices. And mind you, when the spring type device pushes in and the tape is applied under it, it's going to be pulling or pushing the tape in as well, and that's going to give you a marked edge over pushing it in. Even if you're not on the right exact spot, you're still going to get a benefit. The other idea I'm thinking of doing is using a triple approach, but I think that might be overkill. Using the tape and then using the elastic and then putting the spring type device over them all, over the other 2, and that may accomplish pushing it in. Mind you, if you get into taking the right herbs and diet, you may only be like this for a handful of days or a month or 6 weeks or something, and then you're going to be healed up. And then when you're healed up, you probably want to go to a light truss, maybe one of those underwear kind, for a few months, just to make sure, because you don't want to go back where you came from. Now, I studied homeopathy a lot, and I use some homeopathic approaches to this. One of them is lycopodium, Lycopodium. That is a homeopathic remedy that you can get at Amazon. Try to buy it in a strength of 1 m, or buy it at 10 m or 50 m, in those potencies. And you take about 3 of the little pellets and dissolve them under your tongue. And that tends to remediate the right side. It tends to heal. Yeah, I know, this sounds weird. It does work. Now, I was not able to remediate the left side. They have different remedies for that, like Nux vomica and Rus, R-H-U-S-T-O-X, and it wasn't working on the left. Now, there's another approach, so you may want to try that for right side hernia and see if it works. I don't know if it will or not for you. Another approach is you can't buy this in the United States, but you can get it in other countries. It's called Nux, N-U-X, vomica, V-O-M-I-C-A, Homaccord, H-O-M-A-C-O-R-D. It's made by a company called Heal, H-E-E-L. It's a liquid with alcohol and homeopathic stuff in it, and you take it 3 times a day, and it does something. It could help you out, all right? I'm not real big fan of homeopathy for hernia, so you could try these 2 things and see what happens. I don't know what will happen. I don't expect much, but you certainly could try it. The other thing that I would suggest you do is watch your diet. If you can do it, go to vegetarian, okay? And stay away from bread, candy, cake, cookies, alcohol. They say stay away from coffee, but I haven't taken it that far. But I don't use alcohol at all, so there's no problem with that. the the diet is essential. You don't want your guts backed up. Um, Curcumin is an excellent anti-inflammatory that I would suggest you take because that's a good one. Curcumin, curcumin. It's turmeric. It's a food seasoning. Biokind with bioperin, bioperin in it. That's a black pepper that increases absorption. And I would say I would take about a good 3,000 to 5,000 milligrams a day spread out of this. I'm not kidding. Because you're having inflammation. And this will help with inflammation in a big way. Magnesium is a good one to take to the tune of at least 1,000 to maybe 3,000 a day. That will give you loose bowel movements, but it will keep you moving. The idea is to reduce the transit time of the food through your intestinal tract, and the magnesium will get the food going out of you quick. All right? Also, using laxatives during this period is a good idea. If you gorge yourself, like you eat a Domino's triple cheeser, you know, you're going to make your hernia really bulge as all this slow to digest, high transit time food goes through your system. And it's going to be difficult to contain it and things like that. So you're better off if you're eating a lot of salads, a lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables. You could buy vegetarian hamburger patties and things like that. It's all vegetarian. Cheese and meat are not your friend. Milk is not your friend. Although I found taking milk and having a bowl of shredded wheat or raisin bran is a good thing for me. It keeps my system going, so it works in my favor there. But sandwiches and bread, I'm not a good friend. You should stay off of that. I don't think it'll work. I've got to... All right, so anyway, guys, that's what I got now, and I'll do updates as I progress through this thing. You can leave comments, and I'll try to answer them. And there you have it. I'm trying to be helpful to people, and that's it. I'm out.